Hello, everyone. My name is Yvonne, formerly known as Omileti. We are still running the Orisha Wisdom podcast. I am making this video as a follow-up to the one that came beforehand, which is called Omileti, the New Phase. From that video, there have been a lot of questions and a lot of more questions, comments, questions. I want to show you about the process with the Council of Elders. You are about to watch the last meeting in which I was summoned by Egbe Agbelebuti Oshe, which by the Council of Elders this past January 13th, 2022, and this one I attended. Before you watch this in its entirety, I'd like to fill in some gaps. You're going to see me at times laughing. I want you to know that that is a nervous laugh. You're also going to hear about past write-ups. So in order to fill the gaps so that you're able to understand, let me summarize the first write-up from when I was in front of this Council of Elders, when I was accused of plagiarism of the 16 Principles of Ifa. Since I mentioned the 16 Principles of Ifa in podcast number 56, which originally was called Judgment and the 16 Principles of Ifa. Because my husband taught a class on the 16 Principles of Ifa, on February of 2019, I was charged with plagiarism and was asked to remove the podcast altogether and re-record it, or at least to delete anything that had to do with the 16 Principles of Ifa. I did not do that. What I did do was to change the title. In that write-up meeting, Marilyn Omiata brings up that I must remove anything in my entire platform with the title Iya, as I have not earned it since I have not crowned anyone. I argued in that write-up that, first of all, I'm a mother, and also they've been involved in the beginning when Orisha Wisdom and the Orisha Wisdom podcast was born, and this was late 2017, so it was brought up then in 2021. They said that I should know better. I removed many of the word iya from everywhere. I even created a podcast episode about it. I believe it's called From Iya to Omileti. And I removed it from pretty much as many platforms as I could. I have come to also understand that in Lukumi, yes, Iya is for any woman who crowns another priest, but it also holds tight, steadfast on anyone who is a mother. And in Lukumi, it's also used as a sign of respect, like yes sir, yes ma'am, so Baba Iya. The results of that write-up is that I was not to attend any classes. So there wouldn't be any chance of plagiarism in the future. And this was from my doing. I'm the one who requested that. They were adamant to know for how long I was going to be out of classes, and I really wasn't sure. I don't think I wanted to return at that time, but the council decided that it would be for 6 months. So that's the first write-up. Although the Council of Elders texted and emailed me about the summons to the reinstatement to the Egbe, they denied that they meant that it was only Egbe classes. Let me explain a bit about the classes so that you're understanding this is a gap that's not, you're not going to know, it's like a fly here, about classes. Each month, the Egbe holds, did you see that? Classes where depending on your dues tier that you are in, you are or are not allowed to attend certain number of classes. Please see the link with the updated protocols, which will be linked somewhere. These classes vary with a mix of spirituality and a lot of focus on personal development. These classes are sent with a rubric. If you don't know what that is, a rubric are expectations from 1 to 4 on the homework that they give. If you get a 3 or 4, you can go ahead and attend that class. Your homework is great. If you get a 1 or 2 on your homework, you have to redo the homework. If you cannot, or you don't know what's going on, you have to pay someone to tutor you on the homework until it is rechecked. And then it has to be at least a 3, and you are not allowed to attend that class unless it goes to a 3. If you do not attend any class, you're still expected to do the homework and hand it in prior to whenever they give you a date that's due. Here's another note. My husband and I were having a lot of disagreements at this time, especially after the first write-up. There was a lot of tension. I reached out to my godmother for a reading, and she was not able to due to health reasons, which is understood. I reached out to the other elder, which is Omiata, and she was off to vacation. By the time that she returned, what I was trying to avoid happened. This is when the lamp happens. So now let me summarize the second write-up. The second write-up in front of the council of elders of Egbe Agbelebuti comes up 2 weeks after the first one, when I get charged with the charge of inventing an Egbe, because I put an anchovies with oil can lamp, like I added a wick, to Yemaya as a petition to help me and to help my marriage. It was my husband who asked me, what is the lamp for? I did not want to say. I basically told him this is between Yemaya and me. And he said, well, guess what? I'm going to tell your godmother. So he calls my godmother, and that's when the second write-up happens. More of filling in the gaps. In Egbe Agbelebuti Oshe, we are able as priests to cast Obi to our Orishas only for Ademus, never to request anything, as it is also considered an Ebo. We are mandated to go for a reading from either my husband, Fumilayo, or Omiara before doing anything other than a simple Ademu. Ademu is like a candle, rum, you know what I mean, like those little things. Or if not, we will be charged with inventing an Ebo, which in the Book of Rules is a charge that you will get when you face the Council of Elders. You're going to hear a lot of, I do not trust anyone, but you don't have the background. So quickly, I'm going to go over the reasons I do not trust Omiara. In the house, each godchild is mandated to have a year-end reading. This is a mandatory between, I think it's October to mid-November, something like that, to see what needs to be done for all of the godchildren before the year is over, so that things will be good before the next letter of the year, so that we will not have messed up letters again, because it's always the godchildren's fault if we have a bad letter. I had a year-end reading with Omiara late on 2020, in which my marriage came up, and not in the best light. It had not great letters. So she called me later and told me that she understood what it was to be married to a spiritual leader and to hang in there. No additional support ever came from her. Whenever she had any grievance with me, she would talk to my husband first instead of following the protocols of the house where you should speak with that person first. And then if that doesn't work, then you're supposed to have a mediation. This worsened my marriage because when she would complain, then he would come down on me for that. She also spends many hours on the phone with my husband at that time. So remember, we're still January, I'm still married. This is hours in the day and hours in the night and early morning, which I find was disrespectful, and also many inappropriate topics are discussed, as well as anything about any of the godchildren. I saw it as a disrespect to me as a wife to be on the phone with a married, committed person anytime after 11 p.m., midnight, 1, 3, 4. The reasons for not trusting my godmother, Irma Oshunfumilayo. Last year, something major happened. Remember, from that meeting to the second one, something happens between my marriage. And she was the first person I called. Of course, she was shocked. She was trying to be supportive. But then she said two statements, and I'm going to paraphrase them. Maybe he did that to you because you defrauded him. Lo and behold, 2 days later, my husband and I were having a conversation, and he talks about how I defrauded him as a wife. And I knew that he was talking to her about this and how her influence was clear. The second statement that she made is, I don't care what happens as long as Baba comes out unscathed. After that, I became extremely guarded. You're also going to see the lack of accountability when it comes to how they put their wording out into summoning me, which can definitely be misinterpreted, and it was brought back to me. You're also going to find that they are putting words in my mouth, and they agree on the assumptions of what they think I said or what they feel I said. You're going to watch that. Now, the reasons for not wanting to discuss much of the issues were that they were very personal issues, and I did not feel comfortable discussing this in front of everyone, including with a junior elder who's literally just watching and being in my business. I felt that this was private, and this impacted my relationship with the Egbe, because they represent the Egbe, as well as my marital relationship. You're also going to see the flip-flop on the idea that this is the only way that you discuss things to, well, but it's your fault. So you're going to see how they flip-flop on those. You will see how there is no regard to any of my words and my very obvious expression of how uncomfortable I was with the process. Note the progression from whether you are attending classes to a health sabbatical. In the meeting, they focus on what that means. What does that mean to have a health sabbatical? But in the meeting, it isn't fully defined, and no, I did not get a notification stating what they said they were going to do. This is what the health sabbatical means, blah, blah, blah. That was never done. So this is what a health sabbatical means for Egbe Agbelebuti Oshe. First of all, you have no spiritual access to anyone in the Egbe at all. Like no friendship, nothing. Because no one in the Egbe is allowed to speak with you during this health sabbatical, whatever it is you're going through. You have no access to receiving anything or participate in any ceremony. You are basically left to your own devices, but your only contact is your godparent, no matter how damaged the relationship is. I received the following text shortly after this meeting. On the morning of January 15th, this is what I get. Good morning, Omileti. It's Fumilayo. Know that as your godmother, I'm available to meet my responsibilities to you, and I am also a friend. To clarify, this health sabbatical you are taking does not make you a free agent, because we still have an official godmother goddaughter relationship. To avoid complications during the sabbatical, reach out to me before performing a boast, etc. Thanks. Basically, yeah, you're on your own, but you only got me, no matter how it is. I tried to fill in as many gaps as I could quickly. With that, watch the process of how a meeting with the Council of Elders turns from returning to classes to a health sabbatical. Watch the process.
But
¿Sabe que cómo tú te sientes? Mejor.
no, I feel like poo. I don't feel as bad as I did before, but I just feel like just a general, just not good, just generally not good. I have a headache. I feel tired and sluggish. I'm still coughing. So it's just slowly kind of making its way out, I guess. The symptoms kind of linger. So.
Okay. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me press record here.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Okay, so we're starting? Yeah. Okay, aloha everyone. So basically this is just the reinstatement meeting for Omileti. So the time frame that we had agreed upon for being away from the classes that has expired. So in order to give due diligence to the process, we're just reconvening here so that we can get a pulse from you, Omileti, and know whether or not you're going to be rejoining the classes. So let's start with that because that's really the main gist of the meeting today.
I'd rather hear where everybody's at first because I didn't call on to the meeting, so I just don't know what else you guys have up in store.
Well, what we are here to do is to ask you whether or not you are going to come back. That's what the reinstatement meeting is about. So you've been away from the classes, and if anybody wants to go ahead and do a recap of the events that led to you not attending the classes, we can do that. And we can certainly go ahead and do a recap, and now we're here. And what we're just doing is, where we're all at, is that we just want to know whether or not you're going to be rejoining the Egbe classes.
There's nothing from anyone else? I don't think a recap is necessary.
So, Omiera, you have something to say?
Well, basically, that's, I kind of piggyback on the, it's really like the year has expired, and we'd like to know, exactly, basically the return to class, coming back to class and coming back to the Egbe and full activity mode, if that's what you wish to do, so that's what we would like to kind of bring that back to you, where you stand with that, so basically the ball goes back to your court and see where you stand with that.
I couldn't unmute. I honestly, I have a statement. I have a statement, and that's all that I got at the moment. I just have that statement. So, uh,
Okay, so we want to hear it.
I know I'd love to share it, but my internet is not working. All right.
Well, the gist is what?
You know, because I love and respect myself and am a being with the ability to choose, I choose not to allow much of what I consider mistreatment and abuse of me. My husband could have spoken to me instead of again allowing me to come to what I consider the conclave of punishment bus, knowing that I really don't trust the elders of this Egbe. And he had no time to love on his wife, but he had time to make sure that she goes through this process again. My reality is that the person that I'm supposed to feel safest with, I know not to trust because he will inflict pain on me or allow it to happen while elder muscles are being flexed. And I'm expected to behave as a first lady, but I'm always put in a dungeon. And I'm really sad because my godmother was here twice, could have had time to have an open heart discussion with me instead of me being forced to go in front of people knowing full and well that I do not trust or feel comfortable with. This knowingly inflicts harm on me. And
Well, given that, and because we really want to make this expedient, and because we've heard this before, and there's been no consensus, you feel a certain way, and you have the right to feel that way, whether or not that's grounded in reality. We can't dictate how people feel, and we had never came to a consensus in that. We don't feel that you've been maltreated, and the purpose of my visits home were beyond the ken of what we are exploring here. So the other sides of my relationship to you are apart from what's happening here. So no, my purpose in going home to Charlotte wasn't, part of that wasn't really to revisit this with you. And that's purposeful as well. So one thing that we want to say, okay, you don't trust us. And I'm just hearing that you feel you're not a good fit. So given all of that, we just want to know, are you coming back or not? Because we've been through this, we've heard it, and there's no consensus to that. We feel that we did things by the book. We did things the right way. We don't feel that we've maltreated you. We feel that we've given this due diligence. You don't feel that way. So we have to choose to agree to disagree on that. So basically, we're back at square one. And I hope that we don't have to spend an hour or two dancing around the maypole here with this. We just want to know, this is a reinstatement meeting, and we want to know, are you coming back, yes or no?
I wish I would have been able to finish my statement. I think it's best that I just type it and let it go, unless I'm able to finish.
I mean, you can, but I don't know how everybody else feels. I just think that this is such a waste of time.
Okay.
And I don't think that it adds value to the conversation at hand. Maybe I'm wrong. So
Okay.
I open the floor to everybody
That's okay.
else.
So then what I will do is I will type what I need to say, and that way nothing else needs to be discussed.
No, the discussion
It's
is,
fine.
are you coming back? Yes or no? That's all we want to know here so that we can move forward. So again, the floor is still open for everybody else. This is not the Fumilaya show. So basically, I'm saying that I feel that just beating this, we're just beating a dead horse. So again, like I said, the events that led up to this, you feel a certain way. We understand you're entitled to your feelings, that they're not really grounded in reality. that's something that is the overarching view here from the rest of the panel. And again, this is something that we're just never going to have an agreement on that. But given that, that goes beyond the can of the purpose of the meeting, which is we want to know, are you coming back to the courses or not?
Right. So what you wanted to write, or whatever it is that you wrote, and
I'm
you
not
can't
able to
get
finish saying it. So again, it's fine. It's fine.
no, but the result of what you want to say, the reason why we're here is, we want to know, the bottom line is, if you want to, so you want to say what you want to say. So you want to say that you don't trust us and what have you. But the bottom line is, after you say all of that, you want to say that to say what? That you don't want to come back, that you
And we
are going to
already
come
know
back.
that. So you don't trust us. You don't trust the process. You feel that you've gotten the shorter end of the stick. We've already heard that.
Okay, fine.
We want to move forward.
Okay. Well, I don't believe that your process as it's built has been a safe spiritual or a safe emotional space for me. And this just, everything that just literally happened in the past 12 minutes just further cements the reality that I cannot trust anyone here. And it's very, very sad because I couldn't even get a statement out. So I'll just go to the bottom, since my statement is not going to be important because it's beating a dead horse. I just don't choose this for me. And in case this isn't clear, for the time being, I choose not to participate in classes for the time being. I completely also resign from any of the secretarial duties until there is a consistent and intentional improvement between the dynamics between my husband and myself, and between my godmother and myself. I'd welcome a conversation versus this, because this is not, it does not foster true collaboration or spiritual growth or any type of emotional development. And this causes deep damage. And I cannot put myself through that anymore.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, but I think the reason we've gotten to this place, and I guess everybody has a role to play in it, but I think that everybody has their own reality. Mine is that you've set the wheels in motion for a lot of this to happen. So yeah, that our relationship has a breach in it. Yes, it does. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. But one of the things that we want to know, if you're not coming, is that what does that look like in terms of your future training in the Egbe? You've already sidelined yourself, and you're in much of the sidelines. So, like, where do we go from
My
here?
thing is, I don't really care to have this discussion like this. I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. And you're forcing something to happen. I'm not comfortable anymore. And this, I know you're saying that it's all something that I did, but I really would welcome to look to see what was done beforehand, because this didn't just happen. And now I'm up to the point of I cannot. And I don't think it's fair for anybody. And I'm not going to go myself and get sick and get hurt and wind up in a hospital because I am just not in agreement and it's just not working at this moment.
Okay, so I guess one of the next steps, given the dynamics of what's happening here and everybody's point of view, is that we have to have a conversation on what do we feel is a reasonable amount of time for you to be away before that breach becomes permanent.
I don't
So
know. And
can
like
you
I said, there's a lot that's going on. There's different dynamics, and I can't be a first lady like this. I can't. It's just, that's not, no. And what I just went through, I didn't know I was kicked out of the house. I just found out that I was. So, of course, that doesn't bring any trauma into anybody. And this is the best way. And I'm really, really sad if this is the only way that you can get someone to fall in line. If that is the way you're going, I honestly feel very sad for the Egbe.
I'm a little confused here. I didn't think anything here was said about anybody getting kicked out.
That's
Yeah,
how
I'm
it's
confused
looking
too.
like. Because what
That's how
I
you're
got was that
internalizing
I
it.
was
Yeah,
going to have a
nobody was
meeting for
talking about. I'm
reinstatement.
confused too.
Of course. But what I
Yeah,
was
I
just
don't know.
told is
This
how
is
is that going to look until it's permanent? And secondly, the
But
message was reinstatement. I didn't know I was out.
We're talking about participation in the classes. So yeah,
I
Yeah.
can't because of the
conversation.
dynamics of how we got here. I absolutely can't. This has not been fixed. And it just hasn't. I cannot do it this way. I
well,
cannot.
this process is the process of moving on. And what I'm hearing here, and I'll leave it for the elders to decide, is she thinks this is a kind of a stepping away and she cannot work under this condition and it's stressful or whatever the case may be. Maybe this is just not a good fit.
Maybe.
So I think that's something that we all have to consider. So I'll give it to the elders to take over. I was just a little confused on, hey, I didn't even know this was a kick out.
I'm a little lost because, okay, so what I'm hearing, first of all, Omileti, you came knowing that you were coming to a mediation and you didn't have your document that you wanted to speak on. So you're blaming that on us, and you came unprepared. We would have listened, but and we are listening, but you're putting that on us. How you call it? And you started to tell us what we already heard, that you don't trust us and what have you. We've heard that. So what we want to know, and we are still open and we're listening to you. Are you coming back? We want to hear that
I
you're coming
can't right
back.
now. I'm not comfortable.
So
I'm
you're
not
saying
comfortable
no
right now.
So then the second question is that what does it look like? You know, if you're not coming back to the class, how are you? You know, how do you envision yourself being an Egbe member? What does that look like? So you're talking about, you know, of being, I don't even know what you just said. You said you're kicked out of the first lady. You just threw me in a loop. I don't even know what that was about. So I'm not sure what was that about. You just threw me in a loop.
It's okay. I guess that's how I understood it. And I guess that this is something that will have to be discussed later, because I'm not comfortable discussing it here. And that's the thing that I can't. This is very stressful.
So what do you
I'm going
want
through
to
anxiety.
do?
I absolutely can't do this.
That we have to discuss it amongst ourselves. Well, what do you envision? To go and have piecemeal discussions with each of us on the side? Like what would that look like?
I don't know, but I know that it's gonna have to be. I mean, I know that
the buck stops here. Either we discuss it
trying
here,
to work something out.
No, either we discuss it here or we don't discuss it at all.
Then you are willing. Then again, what I said is I'm not comfortable with this, and this has been a very, very stressful time, and this just continues to happen. And I'm saying I'm not comfortable with this discussion right now, and it's being forced. And I'm saying again, I am not comfortable. I am physically not comfortable.
Okay, so all we did was ask to have a discussion, and all we did was ask if you're coming back. Nothing was said derogatory. We just asked if you're coming back, and you're in attack mode.
I'm not in attack mode. It's just I wasn't able to finish a statement. I swear I shortened it as short as I could to state where I was at. I was not allowed to do that, and that's okay. And then if you're not coming, there's just how Jacob, go over there, puppy. This is not this is not a discussion. Even when this was brought on of reinstatement. I didn't know I was kicked out to begin with, but apparently I was. That's what it said. Reinstatement to the Egbe.
Reinstatement to the class.
That's not what it said. It said reinstatement to the Egbe, but it's okay. So for a week, now I'm worried. Oh, great, I'm out. We're going to try to see to get me back in. Hold on a second. Jacob, damn it. He's egging the dog on. I'm sorry about that. So and the pressure to do this way on me when I'm saying I am physically uncomfortable, not cool. I made 2 promises this week. One has nothing to do with anybody here other than myself. And 2 is, if this is becoming now really just not emotionally right, I can't do this. And I'm saying I can't do this, and I'm still being forced to do it, which is, again, going with the premise that I am not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable.
So,
how do I need to put this? Well, I need to wind up in a hospital. I'm not comfortable right now.
okay. So what I just want to let you know is that the the Egbe is going through some evolution. We are making changes. We're making some positive, changes. We're growing. We're trying to, we thought we would, you would like to be a part of that, and just doing a whole lot of things. So
there's other dynamics that have not been repaired. Until they are repaired, I cannot.
Well, you wouldn't know that. You haven't been a part of it. So, you would not know that. You would not know that. So there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that and that are yet to unfold and to be unveiled. So sorry that you're choosing not to be a part of that. So if this is your decision, we just need to know, what do you know that in terms of time you want to be on the sideline. We need to know in what capacity are you planning to be on the sidelines, or what does that look like in terms, because as far as I understand, this can't go on indefinitely. What do you plan to do? I know that you're feeling that
we called you in out of our concern that as time passes by, the more time passes by, the further you're going to fall behind in the training that's being developed and is unfurled.
That's great, but what is more important, me getting trained or me winding up in the hospital? I can't. It's just not worth it for me to be under this much emotional duress. The way that this is being held, I literally could have had an open conversation. This is, if you feel that this is appropriate, I can't, and I cannot allow that for myself. I can't. So I do apologize if you did not get what you needed, but I can't. Certain dynamics need to be fixed first. I can't. I cannot go through this. I cannot go through, any type of psychological damage, because I'm saying there's something wrong here. And
okay, so how would you have made this different?
I really would have had a conversation with my godmother. Seriously, it doesn't matter if it's on phone and video, because there are things that I'm concerned about. I would have had a conversation with my husband because I felt, again, blindsided. So there is no trust being developed. And I always say that I'm not going to cry, but you know what? It is what it is. I felt blindsided yet again, that the people that I'm supposed to trust put me in a meeting situation like this. I don't do that. Not even in my job that pays me does that to me, even when I've had grievances at my job. So this is how I had a question.
But it started out with a wham. And, you know, sorry, we've heard this before. We're beating a dead horse already. I know that what I have to say is not important. So if this is how you guys feel that this is the best way possible, maybe that's great for you and what you're creating. This is not working. I'm obviously under duress, and what matters to you is, well, she's falling behind. I'd rather fall behind and stay alive than wind up in a hospital due to a lot of stress. I can't do that. I can't. So,
What
I
what
can't.
was bad about this meeting? I mean, we told you late last week, was it? And
Actually, I wasn't told what. All I was told is reinstatement to the Egbe, which meant I was kicked out. That automatically gave me stress. Two, I wish I would have had a conversation. Not this. This is not good. And you guys
Well,
are not listening.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to add something in here for
Of
people who
course
don't know
he is.
any back history. So the thing is, this is the process as it stands of now. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're so stressed out and this is a hostile environment. So what I'm getting for that, maybe we should put in place a temporary suspension for X amount of time, and then we could revisit this again. Because this whole meeting is constructed to bring on, to move on. To move on.
Mm-hmm.
We can't move on if we're going to wait here and then we're hearing an ultimatum from you saying that if the rules don't change, you're not coming back.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying
And the thing is,
that's not what I said. You can rewind. I did not say that. I did not say that. I was saying
this process
Baba
has
to be able to express his piece. Go ahead, Baba. You have
but I wasn't.
In this process, I do not give anyone a heads up if they're pulled to a meeting. So as I told you on a private conversation that we had, I cannot give special privileges to you because you're my wife. And when you asked me about the meeting, and I told you, what are you asking me about? Are you asking me for inside information on what's going to happen?
I didn't say that.
I don't do that to anyone else. So why should that be given to you and you get special treatment or special insight because you're my wife? So the thing there is that it has to be equal for all. It has to be equal for all. So that's the situation when it comes to that. And this is the process as it stands now. This is how we resolve things. This is how it's done.
Okay.
So if this is something that you feel uncomfortable about, or you feel that it's a hostile environment, I think for your own mental stability, maybe it's time you do step away from the Egbe completely. That's the only thing that I can think about.
I think one of the things that we do as a council here have to explain then, because right up until this point, I was just referring to attending or not attending the classes. So now we're going on to the issue of a temporary suspension of the Egbe. Just to be fair, as a council here, we have to kind of like discuss what does it mean to not be part of the Egbe. Now that's a whole different kettle of fish. Like what are the ramifications there? So now there's a member who is, let's say, suspended from the Egbe. Like what does that mean? What does that mean? Because this goes now farther than just like attending or not attending classes. So let's say somebody has a temporary suspension. What does that mean? It has to be discussed because we can't really have somebody say, you know, okay, so now I'm suspended or whatever without the person knowing, like, what does that really mean?
Is this question for me?
For everyone. Yeah, we have to kind of like voice up and say like, so now if it's just a temporary suspension from the Egbe, like what does that entail?
Well, naturally, no cocaye, which that's.
Well, the thing is, anytime the person decides to choose that, and what I'm hearing Omileti say is that she's fearful of her health, she's fearful of her mental well-being, and that this has been a hostile environment for her. So if that's what I'm hearing that maybe then she has to remove herself from that. And if this is what we have set in place for the now, we can't be like, well, I'll decide to come back when you guys change your rules. It's like, this is not an ultimatum. So if this is affecting her that badly, maybe this would be the best remedy if she's able to step away from it. And what that means is stepping away completely. Now, that's going to be difficult for her to do because she lives in the temple. So there's a lot of things that go on. So that means if someone decides to take a temporary break from the Egbe, that can be given half a year, that can be given a year, that we will decide, whatever we feel is fair, that that person then steps away from the stress of it all and has a chance to not be involved in anything. Because if everything is causing her stress, then I think the best thing to do is to remove that person from a stressful environment. Now, this is going to be a tricky thing because she lives here at the temple. So that means in festivals, she can't be a part of that. That means if we're having ceremony, she cannot be a part of that. She can't be trained in any of that. The classes, everything is off. It's like she's not here at all. She doesn't attend to any of it. And that's going to be difficult when she lives in the temple. So that's another thing that we have to explore. So everything has ramifications. So if you're going to make this choice, then this is going to be the result of that choice. But what it sounds here is that she doesn't feel that this is a safe environment for her. So I think as a panel of analysts, you guys will decide. But I think removing that person from something that they feel is toxic is going to be best for them. It will be best for them. So what that looks like and how that looks like for Omileti. So that's the thing. When we're here, she's not my wife. When we're here, this is Egbe business. This has nothing to do with anything else. I don't mix the two. So we're dealing with it, not that she's my wife. She's Omileti. She's a member of the Egbe. So if she wants to step away, and I think it's fine. That's not no dismissal or that's not no removal, because when a removal happens, and that's irreversible. Now, with someone just stepping away to take a breather, to see how the grass is on the other side, and that's maybe what they need to process all that to remove themselves from all that, I think that would be the healthier way to go here. Hearing what I'm hearing. So, but you guys decide. What do you feel would be best, and how does that look like? And for Omileti, how does that look like for her? Living here, what does that look like? So that has to do with a lot of things. If there's ultras that are being made this year from the house, she cannot participate in any of that.
Receiving fundamento.
Receiving stuff, neither, because she is like, she's not an Egbe member for whatever amount of years. So all that stuff gets pushed over to the side. She gets a chance to take a breather, step away from it, look at it from all different sides. Because if what she's saying here, that she feels that this is a toxic environment for her and she can go into the hospital, that's serious. So what do? Someone's hot, you remove them from the frying pan and out of the fire. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense that she's going to stay here, you know, if for her it feels that way. So that's just my take on it. I'm not the one who is going to decide on anything. I step away from all that. I'm just giving to what it sounds like to me, because that's what I'm hearing. I wouldn't put anyone in a toxic environment if they're saying that they feel like they're going to go to the hospital or that it's draining on them mentally or whatever. I don't want that for anyone. So the only solution I see is that, unless anyone could come up with something else.
Well, she was suggesting that she doesn't want to be here because it's toxic.
So that's what I was hearing over and over. So I think the decision was already made. It just wasn't.
And she has the anxiety, and she has, you know, she's fearful of, you know, her health and her mental state. So I did hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the course of action, then I'm interested to know what the time period would be.
Well, the thing is also, does Omileti agree that she needs a break, that she needs to step away?
Funny, the only thing that I said is to have better dynamics with my husband and my godmother, but this is what came up.
Well, the whole thing is
All
that
right.
this meeting was only to see if you were coming back into the classes. This direction, you took it to this
I
direction.
did not.
We just
I'm
wanted
just
to
saying I
know.
don't want to go back to the classes right now until the dynamics are fixed. There are things that need to be fixed. And the things, so it's just not, and I'm not being heard. And
So what do you feel has to be
I
fixed?
cannot go through this right now. And that's what I just said. This is not something I wanted to discuss in a meeting that's being recorded.
Well, the whole part of it being recorded is to hold everyone accountable, including the elders.
But that's the whole thing. There hasn't been, and we are a marriage. And in this marriage, things have seeped over and they have not been fixed, which is why I did not want to have this discussion here. And this
Yeah,
is why not.
But this is why not. I'm telling you, one thing don't have to do with the other. Our marriage has
Say you.
nothing to do with this.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with this. I am treating you as an Egbe member when it comes to Egbe business.
Okay.
One thing doesn't have to do
This
with the
isn't
other.
working out.
So then we have to come up with a decision. We don't want to keep dragging this. This is a new year. We want new, fresh starts. And that's the purpose of doing all these meetings, to see where everyone's at, so that as an Egbe, we move forward. We can't just be held and the person, I don't know, or I don't know if I'm going to come back, or if I'm going to come back. I don't know. Things have to change. I don't know. I don't know. We have to move forward from today.
I think the tricky thing about being indecisive is that one of the things that I've learned in life is that when a person cannot make a decision for themselves, sometimes you end up forcing people's hands so that they decide for you. So I think that if we again cannot come to a consensus on this point, we might be facing a situation where we might then have to like decide for you, and that's not our preference. So that's why we are
saying I want the dynamics to improve between my husband and I. That has not, it just was glazed over into somewhere else.
We're not part of your marriage. We're just here as a counsel.
But actually, there's many things that go on which have put me in this spot, and they will never be agreed, or even I'm trying to find the right word. But it doesn't matter, because I'm trying to say that there have been other issues and they have spilled over here. I would love to have a conversation, but you want to have it now, right this second. And right this second, especially after getting an email of, let's get you reinstated back to the Egbe, that was shocking. Not to classes, it was just to the Egbe. That was shocking. That set the stage for this time. And I'm like, what is going on? This has to do with classes, because there's certain dynamics again that I just need to be repaired. But it's not being heard, and now all of a sudden we're about to decide if I'm about to be kicked out. You know what?
Nobody said kicked out.
That's how it's turning into. That if I don't make a decision, you guys are going to twist, the hand.
That's how you want to internalize it. If you get kicked out, that means you don't come back ever again.
Of course.
So what we're saying here is that you're stepping away and taking a break. You're going to look at this video and hear that we said it over and over. This is you taking a break for your mental health. That's all we're talking about. No one turns it into a cookout.
So there's no action, actually. So it's just me who has to take a break. So there's nothing.
You're the one.
All right. This is not.
You're the one that's saying that this is a mental toll on you, and that you've been put in a toxic situation that you don't want to be in no longer. So what we're saying here is, for your mental stability and your health, maybe it's best that you step away for a while. That's what we're saying. No one said anything about a kick out. Now, if you want to internalize it that way, that's on you.
Okay.
No one here mentioned anything on a kick out. So now let's just not complicate this any more than it has to be. The thing is our problems within our marriage should stay there. Egg-based stuff should stay there. The panel already had to hear what was your thing on how you said abuse of power. And like Fumila already said, we've heard it a whole bunch of times. We've heard the conspiracy, how I conspired and it was abuse of power and I turned the elders against you and I'm the one that brought you up on charges and yada, 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 and that it was a betrayal of trust. And we heard all that. We're now in a point to move forward. So we got to let those things go to move forward. We can't embrace a future if we're holding on to our past. That's all we're saying here. No one is throwing you out. We're saying that maybe
I would have welcomed this
mental
conversation instead of this. I would have welcomed that.
Again, I reiterate, this is the process on how it stands now.
Then that's very sad.
This is the process on how it stands now. Because if you wanted to have that conversation with your godmother, you could have also initiated that conversation with her. If you wanted to have that conversation with me, you could have had initiated that conversation. There was no conversations initiated on your part with following protocol. This is the way it's done as it stands of now. This is what we're doing. These things have to be recorded because people say, oh, I didn't say this, or I didn't say that, or I didn't say the other. This way it's holding everyone accountable, including the elders. It holds everyone accountable. So if you don't feel comfortable being recorded, that this can be played back at a later time, sorry you feel that way. But this is to hold everyone accountable, including the elders. So we let you talk. You want to go on this whole letter you wrote about the past. We're here to move forward. That's all we want to do is move forward. And we cannot move forward if you still want to hold on to the past. Our thing amongst our marriage, we deal with as a married couple. Egg-based stuff is egg-based stuff. That's all it is. It's egg-based stuff. So if you got brought up on charges because you did a tuna fish lantern and you had an excuse that you were at the end of your rope, you still did it. So no one put you there but yourself. You have to reach out. And if you feel that you can't because you don't trust the elders, that's fine. But what I'm hearing here is a huge red flag that you're saying that this is affecting your mental health. This is affecting you emotionally. This is affecting you just regular, your body health, the stress levels, all that stuff. When you're in ceremonies, you're stressed out. When you're this, you're stressed out. That this has been a toxic environment for you. This is what I've been hearing over and over and over. And I see the only remedy to save your insanity is to remove you from that toxic environment. And what does that mean? That you take a break from the Egbe for a while. That's what it means. We don't want to read more into this than we have to. So that's what I'm hearing the elders say. And I'm hearing what you're saying. So I'm just reiterating what they're saying to what I'm hearing you say. So when we say, what does that look like for you living here? That's a question that was asked of you. And you want to kind of go back to the old. So you're saying that, oh, well, you don't know how that looks like for you because you're saying, well, until the relationship between me and my godmother are resolved and the relationship between me and my husband are resolved, I don't see myself coming back to the end. That's what I'm hearing. And that this conversation should have been done privately. So that means you get special treatment versus everyone else that has to go through this process. Why should you get that special treatment if you have to be treated just like everyone else is? That shows favoritism. So how does this look like to you? How does this look like to you? And how is that going to happen when you live in the temple? So how does that whole thing look? We got to also look at that. How is that going to affect you and how you are trained? And you said, right now, you don't give a crap about training. What you give a crap is about your mental stability. And I agree. I agree. So I'm just summing up what everyone else is saying.
I can't.
Anybody else want to add anything? Do we feel this could be addressed a different way?
Well, I don't see how we can sit in a council together and do this piecemeal with certain exchanges happening one way and certain exchanges happening another way between Omileti and you, or Omileti and me, or whoever. I mean, this is kind of like the protocol. This is the process. And like I started to say before, the reason that I myself didn't broach this when I've been to Charlotte is because I believe in the process. This is the protocol, and this is how we give everybody due diligence. So I wouldn't overstep my bounds as a council member and go and do something in private when we know that this is the forum where we act together for the sake of transparency. So I wouldn't do that. Maybe on other things on a more social level, but not on this.
That would kind of border on breaching the protocol. She's not doing Egbe activities.
No, we're not. We're not there. I'm just talking about the classes and before. So we know that she's not coming back to the classes. I'm assuming that's of her own free will. And I just want to know whether that's going to be for the year, for 6 months. I can't make an assumption on that. I want some clarity on that.
Right. Okay.
Because there's two different issues going on. I'm going on the first one. And I understand that you're saying that just not, skipping out on a class is not a remedy, but that's not my question. My question is it sounds to me that Omileti is not coming back to the classes. I want to know what the time span on that's going to be. And then we can move on to the other stuff.
Omileti, that means it's your turn.
I've stated that there's a lot of things that I would like to fix beforehand because there's a lot of dynamics that are not understood, apparently. And it just hasn't been able to happen.
Let me put it this way, Omileti. So since let's just say that it's a given that this is the way that we'll be conducting business, the dynamics are actually going to be what they are. So given that that's the way things are going to be, and right now there isn't going to be a change on that, how long are you going to stay away from the classes? Is it indefinitely?
I don't know. I honestly don't know because there's other things that I can't even speak of. And I just can't even speak of right now. And I can't. And so because I respect that, I can't say that, which is why I say there's other dynamics that are not, I just don't want to speak of.
You cannot make a decision. So I make a motion then.
Before you make a motion, the thing is that this whole thing started as if she's coming back into the classroom. Right. It has now turned into something else. There's a red flag here, and she says about that she can't make a decision. This whole thing about her mental health and everything, that is a huge red flag. So now we're not even talking about anymore coming back to classes. We're talking about if she's going to take a temporary time away. Because if she's taking a temporary time away, how is she going to still participate in classes?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I think that one of the things that is important to do is to go through the progression. So I get it that one thing precludes the other.
But the thing is that this is a temporary, right? So even her time away from the Egbe, she could resolve whatever issue she feels she has to resolve with her godmother on that time. And she could resolve whatever issue she feels she has to resolve with her husband now on that time. Because now she's not in the middle of all of it. So I think a breath away is a solution. So while she has all that extra time that she doesn't have to do anything in the Egbe, she doesn't have to whatever, that's the time she can put into then, now this is not like an Egbe thing. There you go. So it's like, this is the time she could try to resolve whatever she has to resolve with her godmother, try to resolve whatever she has to resolve with the thing. But the thing here is that she needs time away.
She don't have
That's
to worry
what I'm
about
hearing.
anything in the Egbe. Yeah.
And then if she wants to resolve those issues, then she could resolve them. And then when her time frame is up, then those things are resolved and she comes back. So either way, it's a win-win. There's not that, I don't know if I'm going to leave yet until these things are resolved. It's like, how can you resolve anything if you're still in the middle of it?
Mm-hmm.
If you're still in the middle of the toxicity, how are you going to step back to try to resolve a situation when you're still in the eye of the storm? So I think that would be a safer way for her.
Mm-hmm.
And within that time that she has away, she could still try to make that connection with her godmother, try to resolve whatever issues they are there, try to resolve whatever issues she has to resolve with her husband. And to me, that just sounds as a good idea. Now, anyone could come up with anything outside of that, but I think the whole class thing is no longer on the table.
I see.
Hearing what I just heard, I don't think it's no longer on the table.
So what's on the table? This is sabbatical. So Omileti, how do you feel about that?
Well, I don't have a choice.
No,
So let's
you
go-
did have a choice, but she didn't. You don't know what you don't. She doesn't know. She. We've been asking her, but she doesn't know. She doesn't know. So that's why. And we in her previous conversation, she was almost tearful, and she's like saying that she's not in the she's in a toxic place.
I never used that word, but this does bring duress. I'm just really disappointed that from classes, this is where this is ending up. And again, the thing is that if this is how you all feel about it, I'm very sad. But it's fine because I'm not being heard. It's fine.
We can't remove ourselves from the equation. This meeting was just to see if you were coming back into the classes. So don't put that on us. Wow. You're the one that said it was a stressful situation and that you didn't want to go into a hospital, and you went on and on and on how this was affecting you in a negative way. The only thing we asked, are you going to come to the classes this year or not? And then you wanted to run off on a speech that you have pre-prepared on how you feel you were swindled and you were treated unjustly, and you wanted to go to all that stuff. So you want to revisit the past so that we have to hear that all over again. And then you make the statement that you just did. This is something that you put yourself here.
Okay. All right.
You can't throw that on us. If you're saying that you are so mentally drained and that this is so bad for you,
okay,
then even a clinician will remove you from that.
And
it's like a drug addict.
And it's not just empty words. We're seeing you go through the process. We're seeing the breakdown. And we do all agree that, well, I'll speak for myself. I just see that, yeah, it's something that's affected you in really negative ways, unhealthy ways. So, yeah, we got to see that, too. We got a demo of that.
And you're still here. You still can speak and say something, but you're not saying anything definitively. So you still have the floor.
Because I'm watching the process happen, and you guys are not seeing that your process is really damaging. And you guys are saying, no, I dug it. I did it. I did it to myself. And I'm just watching it, and I cannot believe that this is what I'm watching. I can't. I'm really, really sad. And I'm more sad than disappointed.
I think she froze. We kind of missed a whole bunch. You froze. We just heard livid. That was the last thing we heard.
I never said the word livid. I just said I'm very sad.
You froze up. You froze up.
It's fine. You know what?
So the thing here is that we're giving you an option. We're telling you, hey, what do you feel? Do you feel that this is something that's going to help? We've asked that several times here. And your response has been, unless the problems between your godmother and your husband are resolved, then you're not thinking that you're coming back. That's what you've said over and over and over. And we just keep going around in circles. So it's like, if you're going to take time away from the Egbe, What we're asking you is how much time do you think you need to take away from the Egbe? Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be half of the year? Is it going to be what? We could do, I think the longest is a year. So if you want to do a year, then that's fine. If you want to do half a year, then that's fine. And that would be a time for you to find yourself. That would be a time for you to bring back your mental well-being, and you wouldn't have to be around any of it. And if you want to resolve issues that you may have with your godmother, then you can resolve those issues at that time. And if you want to resolve issues that you have with your husband, you can resolve that at that time. And that after that time frame passes and you feel that you still want to come back, then that door is open. There's no door closed. That door is open. Now, if you feel that there has not been any changes, or that you still feel that you're going to be in emotional duress, then you could decide to leave the Egbe for a longer period of time. So, and you could also decide to leave it indefinitely. That's your choice. You have a choice. You're just not saying what you want to do. So what Fumilayo is saying is that if you cannot make that decision for yourself, then we would have to put it for you. But you've been given the choice and you're not taking it. What do you want to do?
I'm not prepared with a time frame. All I know is that right now I just couldn't. And I'm not prepared for a time frame. And I know you
Okay,
want
so then
it,
we'll
but
put
I'm
one.
not prepared.
But that's fine, then we'll put one for you.
Okay.
So you want to do the less, half a year? That would be the less.
So yeah, so I make a motion to make whatever we're calling this, the suspension or the temporary step away for 6 months, and then we can reconvene and we can re-examine. So that's the motion, and I want to know who the yeas are.
Okay. Well, we'll do the 6 months. So I'll second the motion.
So then we can reconvene 6 months from today. And that'll give you time to
Sort everything out.
think and and come back and see if you need more time. So the next 6 months are for you, and we will follow that up with an official document so that you know what the dates are, and we will reconvene in 6 months.
Fine.
Okay, so anyone want to say anything else before we cut?
Erica's tending to the baby. So she's changing his diaper.
I think that I don't know what would be needed, so I guess now that you know that it'll be in 6 months, you'll be better prepared. So there'll be no surprises, so hopefully, and hopefully things will be in better, uh, if there's all the talks that need to be done will be done. Whatever you think you need that needs to be spoken will be spoken. And there's no surprise. There's a 6-month date, So, and I know, and the anxiety. So hopefully, we don't. The goal is to get you back, and and that you're well, and most important, your health is important. So I wish you well.
Okay. Bye.
Okay.